Thank you.
Thank you.
So here we are in Beamish town. And we're going to head towards Tracy's favourite shop, which is the sweet shop. And we're right outside Jubilee Confectioners. And Tracy make a beeline for the shop. And doesn't look like they're making any sweets at the moment, but I'm sure they will a bit later.
Very good. Not right now, I'll get them later.
Okay, cool.
Smell.
Thank you.
do, I'll give you an introduction to the mine, a bit on the history, and of course a bit on safety before I actually go into the mine itself. This is the Mahogany Drift Mine, and it predates the museum. It was opened in 1856, it closed in 1958, then it was reopened by the museum in 1979, as you can see on this stone there above the entrance. It's what they call a drift mine. A drift mine was just one way of taking the coal, but without the need for those shafts straight down into the ground. Because here the coal itself was just sticking out from the hillside, and what they call an outcrop of coal. So all the miner had to do was take his pick, hack the coal off, take the coal away. But of course, the more coal you took away, the more it fell back into the hill. So the miners followed the coal in, creating roadways as they extracted the coal, and they called it drifting with the coal. This one drifted in for 1.5 miles, down to a depth of 300 feet. Then it went 1 mile to the west and 1 mile to the east. So there was a large area of coal actually mined right under this hillside. Today, we only go in about 50 yards, not a long way in. Little bit unsafe. Keep the hard hats on. The mine itself never gets any lower than 4'6". That is right at the coal face itself. 4'6". Well, that was the legal height you could take a pit pony in. So the coal owners actually heightened the roadways to suit ponies, but unfortunately not the miners. So that's why you have to be aware of the height in the mine. Anytime you don't like it or feel uncomfortable, you can just turn around and make your way back to the surface. There's no problem if you do want to leave the mine. But we do have to wait a short while for a group to come out, because we're only allowed 2 groups underground at any one time. So if anybody's got any questions you'd like to ask about the meat itself, I wouldn't keep your glasses. There's a 10 from UK coal mines. By 1913, the year we're in, a 12-year-old boy could leave school legally and work at the surface of the mine, but you couldn't be employed underground until you reached 14-year-old and 21 to be right on the coal itself. But don't worry, lasses, those jobs for you. You can get yourself away across the brickyard, make bricks, or work at the screens, or work in the timber yard, but you couldn't be employed in the mine. And there's a group coming out now, so once this group comes out, we'll make forward with them.
I'm alright, yeah.
Well, I did too. The last time I did that.
Tell you what, you step forward, you go behind her, you move down a little bit further, and you get the lads in off the end there. That's it, that's spot on. Now this machine you see here, this is the Siscol coal cutter. This was brought in the mines about 1910, when the very first machines that would use compressed air pumped down from the surface to operate it. The miner, well, he's behind. He'd use this handle to control a hammerhead drill that was hammering and twisting into the coal. When this handle was turned, that would slowly take that hammerhead across the coal, ripping and tearing into the coal as it went. They say when it was operating, it was equal to about 10 of those really old-fashioned road drills you used to see. So you could imagine the noise, the dust, the vibration coming away from this machine. And of course in 1913 there's no face masks, there's no ear protection. All you've got is a scarf or a rag across your nose and mouth, trying to stop dust getting into your lungs. And maybe a bit of cotton wool in your ears to stop you going deaf. And of course keep your head still.
Like Simon Cowell now.
Ground behind the pinewood pit crops, you see the coal itself. And it does show you just how close the coal is to the surface in the Durham coalfield. And it's a good working height. It's nearly 5 foot of a workable coal seam. Because within the coalfields, not only Durham, they were down to 18 and 20 inches that they were crawling into, chasing after coal. So I'm sure you'll appreciate this was a good working height for any miner. This was the coal stall where the miner would spend his 8-hour working day. He didn't get paid to walk into the mine, he didn't get paid to walk out. His 8-hour shift started right at the coal. And these were the tools of his trade. The coal pick, the shovel, the hand drill, drill rods. All these tools had to be bought and paid for by the miner himself. The only thing the coal company supplied him with, the flame safe lamp, because it had to do so by law. And it was all piecework, no basic rate of pay. If you didn't get the coal out, you didn't get the money in. But in 1913, Northumberland and Durham miners were the best paid labourers in the UK. They were averaging 35 old shillings a week. That was 3 times what they were getting up on the farms. And of course, if you worked right on the coal itself, you got a rent-free cottage and a ton of coal every 2 weeks to keep that fire going in that cottage. Now the flame lamp, well, you always hung it up. You kept it away from the swing of the pick or the shovel. There was enough fuel in it to last about 10 hours, and that fuel is a smokeless kerosene. Now to give you some idea what it's like to work by, I'll switch out the main lights in this area. And that's the miner's lamp itself. Well, you could have used a candle, it gives off twice as much light. But that open flame of the candle could possibly explode methane gas. Methane gas, it's a natural part of the coal. It's trapped in coal. It was formed with the coal. So along comes the miner, hacks into the coal, and of course methane gas can be released. You can't see it, you can't smell it. It's lighter than air, but you can explode it in the right conditions. And of course early miners were using open flame lamps and candles, so it wasn't unusual to blow the whole mine up. But by 1913, it was required by law that the coal company would supply the miner with a flame-safe lamp to try and prevent explosions of the methane gas in the mine. There you go. You're safe now. Lights back on. Now, it does bring us into the short tour, and it is a short tour, because I'm not trying to teach you a history of coal or machines. I'm just trying to show you what it was like for the Durham lads when they worked the coal in that year, 1913. And I appreciate the time you spent here, and I hope it's just given you maybe a little bit of an insight into the life of a Durham miner. And if you'd like to make your way back to the surface, I'll follow you back. And thanks for taking the time to come down.
Thank you.
Another shift change? Really?
Ah, it's a train, isn't it?
No, the pit.
It's a pit whistle.
Yeah. No, your pit whistles.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, your whistles.
You okay? Hey! Well done. Gently, slowly, do it slowly.
Okay.
Do it slowly.
The kids, you'd run around.
Yeah.
Run about.
Control.
Kids would run around.
You had it, you had it. No, that's not it. That's, it's not going to do it seriously.
That's how I'm doing it.